Here's my audience. I'm going to be using her phone as a timer. Alright. Today, nearly 4 in 10 Americans are considered obese in the US. We have one of the highest mortality rates among first world countries. Cardiovascular health has plummeted, and maternal and infantile health expectancies have also troubled the nation. So why has a leading country such as the US fallen so tragically on the health spectrum? How can we overcome such a devastating yet entirely preventable number of deaths? The answer is our dieting. The US ought to provide that plant-based diet to improve American health and lessen the economic burden of healthy foods. Contention 1. The status quo exacerbates health issues, and the plant-based diet can mitigate chronic illnesses. So firstly, what is a plant-based diet? Harvard Medical School defines the plant-based diet not as one that's explicitly vegan or vegetarian, but one that rather encourages its subscribers to introduce more produce into its diet and reducing the number of meats and dairy products in everyday use. So the National Science Council in 2008 published a study where they compared 17 peer nations and saw a lot of issues with the American health system. So in this example, the mortality rate in non-communicable diseases such as cardiovascular diseases was second highest to Denmark against peer countries. Similarly, cardiovascular health in men substantially was worse rather than peer countries, and also Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and other neurodegenerative diseases had above average mortality rates. So while it's sad, the beautiful side of research is that a major contribution to it allows us to see how we can fix these problems. Since the 1970s, the rise of fast food and the meat and dairy industries have really taken a toll on the American health. People love their meat and dairy, but this isn't asking for people to give up their beloved bacon and burgers. Fast Company in June 2001 stated that Americans are obsessed with their meats. You can see in this article where the types of meats that are consumed by Americans fluctuates in the last 50 years. However, you can see that there's a small increase from the 1970s up until 2019. And that small increase seems little, but it actually accumulates over 15 million pounds of meat consumed by the US each year. So in conjunction with the lowballed fast food that we see and portion control issues, overconsumption has directly contributed to high cholesterol and obesity, which in turn affects chronic health issues. Eating in the US is more broad than it is deep, really. We lack so many nutrients and are ultimately eating empty calories. Stanford University on May 6, 2021, interviewed physician Dr. Reshma Shah on malnourishment, where she introduced the idea that Americans are obsessed with their protein intake, but rather, instead of obsessing over protein, should really focus on the other vitamins that we lack, such as fiber, vitamin K, and vitamin D. So when she talks about this in her interview, she says that Americans really need to stop obsessing over this protein intake, because no matter what diet they're on, 97% of Americans are getting sufficient protein. Similarly, when we turn around to a plant-based diet, not only do we gain more nutritional value, but also eat foods that are powerful enough to deter aforementioned illnesses. Harvard Health Journal in March of 2021 evaluated the American College of Cardiology's diet on health, which was a 20-year-long study with over 200,000 subjects, where they saw that the most holistic style of eating, which was this plant-based diet with reduced meats and dairy products, not only had the lowest number of cardiovascular issues developed in the 20 years, but also saw that the cost for a family when they were eating less meats and dairy reduced by 14%. And similarly, Oxford in 2021 evaluated the lifestyles, which led me to my second contention about how anyone can subscribe to the plant-based diet regardless of financial restrictions. So as I was saying, Oxford University in 2021 evaluated international lifestyle cost efficiencies and found that the integration of produce was the most efficient, and re-establishing that Harvard study where the cost of each annual grocery bill was significantly less when you reduce the number of meats and dairy products consumed and increase the number of produce. So how do you do this? With 3 key components. First, seasonal shopping and shopping local, which can really decrease the cost of your grocery bill. Second, buying in bulk, finding dishes that have the same handful of ingredients so that you can really maximize the produce you're buying. And finally, resisting temptation. Like any other diet, you won't need to splurge. And this article shows how as the years go on, the cost of buying more produce and reducing your meat consumption actually becomes more affordable in the US. The greener it is, the cheaper it is. So as Americans, we thrive off of praise, being the best at everything, but our aspirations are bound to fall short when we lack the compassion to take care of ourselves. With a plant-based diet, we can thrive individually and communally to take on a healthier country.
Great idea.